Previously on Miss President.
You cannot profile a position as high as ambassadorial position in terms of cultural profiling. We can't say that this position of for Tanzanian Republic is going to be for people from the coast because what? Their language is Kiswahili. Kiswahili is a Kenyan national language. Imagine if 20, 30, 50 years, we only have the ambassador to Tanzania is from the coastal region. What do you think people will think? We will let you go home.
Karibuni Kenya, nchi ya jua. Kenya, a country of 47 counties but one national government, devolution. Devolution is the transfer of some authority or power from the central government to a local government that we refer to as counties in Kenya. This week, the topic, as you have now guessed, is devolution. And here to walk us through devolution is a former Miss President Season 1 contestant, Miss Lynette Mabu, who is a member of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. How cool is that? Our contestants will visit the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee headquarters in Westlands, Nairobi, Kenya, where we'll have a sit down with Lynette and some of her professional colleagues specialized in this field. This brings me to the recurring question. Is Kenya ready for a female president? Today's episode is filmed over a period of 2 days, and the contestants will be given a task where they will present as individuals. Top 8 is not easy at all, and as in every episode, eliminations are expected after presentations and judges' deliberations as we seek to find out who is taking the title this season.
Over 700 applications were received from all over Kenya, and from these, 350 contestants were shortlisted. After a series of auditions, over 50 women were selected, and they will now battle it out at the Academy for the coveted title of Miss President. In the race to be elected Miss President, we have the following contestants. Lynette Mavu is a member of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, IGTRC. She is also a former member of the County Executive Committee for Devolution, Taita Taveta. In addition, she was a contestant for Miss President Season 1. Lynette has a master's degree in strategic management and has a lengthy experience as a teacher and consultant. She is currently pursuing a PhD in business administration. Her ultimate goal is to be a strategic, experienced, and results-oriented leader, serving the Kenyan public with integrity, responsibility, devotion, transparency, and accountability.
It's a pleasure to meet all of you once again, and welcome to our offices in Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. So maybe just to start the discussion on the mandate of Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, let me just take you back to our devolved system of government. We know that when we promulgated the 2010 Constitution, it created a paradigm shift from a centralized form of government to a two-tier government, where we have the national government and the county government. We have 35 functions to be performed by the national government and 14 to be performed by the county governments. Now, these functions, when you look at them, we can be able to group them into three, but basically two. We have what we call exclusive functions, exclusive either to the national government and exclusive to the county governments. But at the same time, we also have what we call concurrent functions. A function that you will see appear in the national government and one that appears in the county government. And one of the best examples is disaster management. And then we have residual functions, functions that have not been assigned. And when you now look at the concurrent functions, you already see a recipe for a conflict, especially in performance of those functions. Because if the function has been assigned to the national government and at the same time it's assigned to the county government, the question is, where is the boundary? And one of the mandates of IGRTC is to be able to resolve those conflicts. And the principle of intergovernmental relations is through diplomacy. So we actually apply the principles of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, basically mediation. So IGRTC basically brings the two on the table to negotiate and see what we can do about that conflict. But apart from that, we also have a thematic area which analyzes the function. So we analyze and bundle, and we are able to negotiate between the two levels of government and assign each level of government a function through a legal notice. Analyzing functions and transferring functions to either level of government is a transitional residual function that IGRTC has been mandated by the Act of Parliament to uptake it. The question is, you have been appointed as a principal secretary in charge of intergovernmental relations in Kenya. What transformational initiatives will you propose to enhance good relations between the two levels of government and amongst county governments? And part 2, explain the strategies you will apply to implement your initiatives.
And now, let us have a look at the key highlights from the topic of this week's episode.
My name is Dr. Zippy Okoth. I am a lecturer at KCA University, agenda consultant, an award-winning filmmaker, and founding director of the Lake International Pan-African Film Festival. I will be looking for someone who is informed, bold, visionary, and has a unique leadership predisposition.
Hi, my name is Jerry Kirene. I am a policy advisor and researcher and an advocate for women's advancement. I am looking for courage, determination and excellence. I will be kind but firm, as I feel at the Academy there is no room for mediocrity.
My name is Michael Nyango. I am the founder and lead at the Agenda Center for Kenya's largest and most trusted social media platform, WhatsApp. The Forgotten Bottom Millions, 4BM, a social media enterprise currently reaching over 500,000 persons every week via WhatsApp and transforming the lives of thousands of Kenyans. I will be looking for audacious, bold, and daring leaders.
The tasks for today's assignment are as follows.
I'm here to talk to you about devolution. And so today I will tell you a story. The story of 48 brothers and one parent. The 48 brothers and the parents sat together and say, what can we do? We are here as a family. We need to stay together as a cohesion. And so they decided to have a little lovely sister. And the little sister was called Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. She has resolved intergovernmental disputes, around 9 of them, and currently she has a backlog of around 13 disputes that she's working on. You can tell she's a hardworking Kenyan. And we can sense from outside, and the sister can feel, that there is lack of synergy between the brothers and the father. With that in mind, what are some of the solutions and the strategies that we can advise the sister so that we can have cohesion, we can have synergy? Number 1, capacity building of the brothers and the people that work with the brothers, continually through seminars, through meetings, and even through summits. And that should be able to be done with deliverables and very clear metrics that can be audited. Number 2, use of technology. Technology. 9,000 kilometers of fiber optic cables has been connected in Kenya, and all the county government headquarters, Reed Brothers, are connected to the fiber optic. Our dear sister can use that to help register complaints, solve complaints, queue for the complaints in order to resolve it. Some will be resolved online. It will be cheaper, cost-friendly, and therefore many cases will be sorted remotely. Technology can also be used to measure the ease of services among the brothers. Remember, there's the Prudential Fund. What are some of the indicators that will help the father to give out to the brother the prudential funds? Technology can help proactively analyze that. And also proactive prevention of conflict, doing due diligence, and also making sure you know what are the starters or the triggers of war and talking about them before the conflict began.
Today, I wanted to unclassify a theory, which is something that Kenyans love to do, to turn our committees, our councils into talk shows. We do not have feedback mechanisms, and we can not really tell what the structures are into implementing some of the decisions that we have. Our biggest stumbling block in intergovernmental relations. Welcome to today's discussion. Challenges that have come out of these intergovernmental relations include the interlinking of functions, duplication of roles. We have seen that there are national government agencies that are still conducting their duties as intergovernmental relation sector forums on behalf of counties, whereby these functions are fully devolved. One of those issues that we find conflicts within governments is the issues to do with transport. Going forward, I have identified some of the initiatives we can come up with. One of them is the legal framework, so that it's not just one big talk show, but we end up actually formulating legislation that supports the implementation of those particular questions. So other initiatives that I had identified are issues to do with trade. We are trying to build these counties to be able to sustain themselves in terms of their economic empowerment. And we can see, we can look for opportunities where cross counties can be able to form agreements and support their local trades. There is no need for me to be near. A county like Mombasa is near Kilifi, but cannot buy pineapples in a close relationship, and it buys at the same price as another county in Machakos. If they had that relationship, you can benefit from your neighbors having to produce products that you can use. Other things are to do with local courts. Counties are having a hard time to enforce some of the laws they come up with because they never inherited courts that they can able to put petty offenders. And some of the issues that have been devolved are like noise pollution, and those are things that counties should be able to have a place to go and discuss issues with.
So in the year 2019, my county, Taita Taveta, had a serious problem. The MCAs decided to impeach the governor, and then the process went to the Senate, and a lot of time was wasted, a lot of public resources were wasted, and of course, service delivery to the Mwananchi was affected. That is why I'm here today to speak about enhancing intergovernmental relations. When you talk about intergovernmental disputes, I've already told you about Taita Taveta. What is it? A disagreement over a matter, over functions, politics. So supremacy battles, ignorance on functions, these are some of the causes that cause the disputes. Constitutional loopholes. There are some functions in the Constitution that are not very clear on who is supposed to be doing them between the national government and the county government. And sometimes, of course, it's things to do with power plays and cheap politics. Yeah? So how do we handle this? So my initiative, I call it Boresha Mahusiano ya Serikali. So it's a 5-year strategy, 2023 to 2027, as the PS in devolution, because that's where the IGR is placed right now. So my strategy has 4 strategies: legal strategy, institutional strengthening strategy, cultural re-engineering strategy, and resource alignment strategy. So my legal strategy, as you can see, it's a strategy with timelines, action, and funding. Who is supposed to fund these strategies? The second one is institutional strengthening, like I've already talked about, the IGTRC, to change from a committee to a commission, and then devolve commission offices to regions where they're able to access the regions better, and of course enhance partnerships and liaison offices in counties or regions to be able to enable the committee, which hopefully will be a commission, to work better. My third strategy is cultural engineering strategy. Talk about proper induction of leaders. Sometimes there are issues because the leaders don't know who's supposed to be doing what. So can they be inducted? Civic education among the people. They don't know who's supposed to be doing what in the area of land, in the area of water. Inculcate culture of cooperation and consultation. We fight because we don't cooperate, we don't consult.
We look at Kenya as a unitary colonial state. That is where the centralization of power and governance began for Kenya and built the foundation of the centralization of governance that we talk about today. And so in 1963, the leaders who were pro-independence at that time talked about having majimboism, which was a devolved system of governance by then, in protest of the colonial rule. But it was too radical, and so 1 year later they had to do away with it. But then again, after 40 years of executive power, Kenyans come again to talk about devolution in 2003, after they have elected a new government. And there was no consensus yet, so they again had to go back to the drawing board. And then again, Kenyans kama kawaida walioga na wakarudi soko. Again, for another 5 years, they worked hard until they promulgated a constitution in 2010. So they realized that the separation of powers that was created then had a problem. And so they needed to pass another act, which is the Intergovernmental Relations Act of 2012, that gave birth to the National and County Coordinating Summit, which is called the Summit, the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee, the Council of County Governors, and it also stipulates the dispute resolution mechanisms. Okay, so what are the challenges that I have come across in the implementation of intergovernmental relations in Kenya is that there's lack of trust and cooperation. So as a PS, the first thing I'll do is to strive to create opportunities for collaboration. And the action that I will take here is to ensure that there are regular summits, at least 3 to 4 meetings, once every quarter, because even the Constitution stipulates that at minimum the summit should meet twice a year. Then I also noticed the challenge of political differences. Kenya is a democratic country. There is a political party A, political party B. We've talked about the Council of Governors who belong to different political parties. So as a PS, I am in a neutral position to promote cohesion and integration, which will be one of my initiatives. And this way, I will use that platform to mobilize the political class to attend and participate in the summit declarations and agreements, because this is one of the things that we at least need to agree on before we can even take off.
Now, devolution has served us for a very long time. Time has come that we serve devolution. So as we go through this presentation, we are going to look at strategies and initiatives that we are going to have in place to make devolution work for all of us. For 12 years, Kenya has had devolution. So there is a gap of 5 years between when the committee was established and when devolution was put in place. We are going to look at what effect that has had and how are we going to redeem ourselves while there's still time. There are 4 categories or levels of government that should be involved in intergovernmental relations that are currently not involved. We only have national government and county government, but we forget at some point we have an incoming national government and an outgoing national government, incoming county government and an outgoing county government. So those 4 levels of government are also very key in remembering them so that we are able to achieve the milestones that we want to achieve. When we talk about government, let us also not forget that we have our parliaments there. We not only talk about governors and president and deputy president. Let's remember parliaments and assemblies are part of government. So all these organs have interconflicts that compromise the milestones and the mileages that we are supposed to have in our intergovernmental relations. So the initiatives we are going to look at will be addressing all these levels of disputes that are arising in our government. We have called our initiative Tunza Ugatuzi because it is ours to take care of. The first thing that we are going to have, the first initiative is social inclusion, and it is at the grassroots. We want to conduct civic education of people, civic engagement of public and the opinion leaders, even for social accountability. We are going to have interactive web and online portals where our young people can even go and air their views. We are going to establish a national tribunal, and the role of this national tribunal is to ensure that those governments that don't want to hand over once their power is gone, this tribunal causes them to do so. And one of the strategies we are going to propose is that don't clear any president, don't clear any governor to receive their benefits if they have not handed over government properly and its asset.
I want to take us back to the bare level. When devolution came on board, everyone went up and running. We wanted to know what is devolution. And we want to agree that any new structure that comes on board might have their teething problems. And I will tell you, because I work in the county government as a director, service delivery unit, where that is the unit that oversees even projects being implemented at the county. But I will tell you that these were some of areas of conflict that even as at now, we are still praying that the intergovernmental Relation Technical Committee will come and aid. One is projects. It has been realized that we have so many duplication of projects. Why? The national governments want to take care of a certain road in West Asembo, where I am in. The same budget, the county government has actually identified it. So you will find two contractors going to the same place, wanting to put the same road. Two things will happen. Either the two contractors will agree that let's just do this thing and get our money and go. Or one will say, this is mine. So this is why we now see yetu. While the community needs that road, for them they want a road, then security. I will tell you chain of command. Security is at the national level. But when there is banditry, there are issues within the county. The county governments also say to Naskari wa county. So they may look like they're things that are not so key, but they're actually the things that hamper service delivery. At the end of the day, huyo mwanafunzi ya amejua shule. Yule mama amejua barabara ya kwenda sokoni. Hiyo ndiyo anataka. There is no road that you will find yourself standing there as a woman going to the market and you're told don't step on it because this is county national. And that is why the IGRTC must come in on some of these areas. So what were the strategies I looked for? One is joint supervision. All the two levels of government do supervision. But just look at this scenario. One vehicle is carrying staff from the national government to go and supervise an ongoing project, and another vehicle carrying county staff in the same county, in the same ward. What if they do joint supervision? One, there will be quality and value for money. To avoid duplication, nothing stops the county commissioner seated in a meeting. We did it during COVID time. During COVID time, we had the county commissioner sitting with the governor to find out what is our status. So this can also be replicated so that we have harmony. So people are able to identify the national projects and the county projects, and we say that then we need to prioritize this as compared to this.
So what is at stake? Why should we care about intergovernmental relations? Why did we even have to come up with a committee that is trying to manage relationships between the county government and the national government? Number one, litigation costs. Number two, overlapping and duplication. Number three, poor public service delivery. And number four, poor public participation. Let's see how this manifests. So just between 2013 and 2015, we spent over 130 million in legal fees, okay? Because the Office of the Attorney General is not devolved across the 47 counties. So county governments rely on external advocates and lawyers when it comes to litigation. We have 200 stalled county projects, can you imagine? Which beats why we have devolution in the first place to bring the services closer to the people. Then the worth of the projects that have stalled between the Kibaki government and Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Imagine the worth is 9 trillion. This is more than our national budget of 3.3 trillion. So what are the strategies and initiatives that as a peers I will put in place to ensure that we don't even have the stalled projects? Number one, public awareness and adoption of policy legislative framework, the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. We have to ensure that counties understand that there are alternative ways for them resolving their disputes before running to the courts. That is why we have the IGTRC committee, to ensure that we can come together and save counties costs and ensure that we don't have delayed projects because you cannot agree. Then enhanced public participation for better public service delivery. We have counties that are yet to legislate and put in place effective frameworks for public participation. Counties like Vihiga, counties like Bomet, and even ministries like Ministry of Health, where we don't necessarily use public participation when it comes to the decisions that we are making that affect the citizens.
If we look at the national government, we have challenges. We don't have enough resources. For now, the government give about 25 to 30% to the county government, and many times they complain that the resources are not enough. And also sharing of responsibilities is not clear. For example, we have Kenha and Kura who are responsible in the road, the infrastructure. But most time we'll find that we have poor infrastructure in some county and doing better than the others. So the responsibility between both are not clearly stated. We have several initiatives that we need to overcome the challenges. The inequality on power sharing, adjusting the intergovernmental budgets, the Intergovernmental Relationship Technical Committee, control of budget, Office of the Auditor General, transition of power between agency like KENHA, where ministry, government, and county can meet and share powers to develop different counties. Misinterpretation of the law in the two houses too, that's also something that we need to strengthen. How do we transform this? As I said initially, the poor zoning of the county borders. We also have the establishment of, we need to establish a joint bonding session in all counties so that they can understand their responsibilities clearly. The strategies to implement the initiatives. We need to fast track of the realization of all these initiatives. We need to bring together the national government and county government to coordinate and work together.
For the assignment, the contestants will be judged on their understanding of the task, time management and presentation, creativity and innovation of the solutions provided, and lastly, leadership and group dynamics. Each contestant must write 2 names of who they think should leave the academy and the reason why they should go. The contestants will then also give 2 names of who should stay in the academy and why they should stay in the academy. Let us have a moment of reflection with the judges.
I am so impressed today because the ladies have actually shown the grasp of the concept of intergovernmental relations, considering that some of them were hearing the institution for the first time when they visited. Today, what they presented was very impressive because they mentioned key things that the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee does, including majorly dispute resolution, which is actually the core function of intergovernmental relations. And in addition, of course, they also mentioned summit, although I expected them to talk more about summit because it is the apex body of intergovernmental relations. However, most of them talked about it in passing. There is something that they missed to mention, which we talked about yesterday, the sector forums, which is a very important, unit or structure for intergovernmental relations, because on a day-to-day basis, I think some of the disputes are solved at sector forum level before they escalated to summit. And again, maybe one of the things that they did was to give too many initiatives. You cannot do so much in 5 years. You may articulate 2 or even 3. We expected 2 or 3, or even one robust one that could be able to address many issues.
But besides that, having listened to the ladies, each contestant taught me something. I had a new idea in each presentation. And that points to the fact that the ladies have understood administratively how to govern this country. And you see, with whatever they have talked about now, it is exposing the fact that it's not only national government, national positions that we should be going for as leaders. We should also start looking at county positions because that's where the bulk of the work is.
Government is very complex, as we've probably all noticed now. And back to what the contestants did and what we're going to see going forward, is definitely without a doubt what I am personally looking for. And today at the end of the show, what you'll see is that whoever will end up staying in the academy will be the persons who are able to take such a complex matter and ensure that a viewer who is watching us from Ganze or a viewer who's watching us from Kapenguria is able to connect and understand.
However, there are contestants who still get lost in the belief that this is a competition, that they hurriedly do their work without focusing on the nitty-gritties that we need in the question. So we can clearly see these are the ones who read the question 3 times before answering it, and they're the ones who read the question once and went into answering it the way they thought it needed to be answered. So it's very clear that some stood out and some are here and there. So yeah, some people have to go home.
When it comes to intergovernmental relations, now what I've come to learn is that we are able, even as Ms. President, to go back home, sit with our governors, and actually chart a way forward on some of the key issues that we were seeing as challenges. With the ideas and the innovations that we've had here, then it's easier for the counties now to start moving from one level to another.
Counties have relationship among themselves. I'm from Embu, and we border with Tharaka-Nithi County. We can actually have intergovernmental relations and even explore the disputes we have and resolve them. It was very interesting discovering that.
Actually, your trainer for the day, yesterday and today, Ms. Lynette Mavu, has a plane to catch for some very, very important functions that are very pertinent to this particular situation of devolution. So, without any further ado, she has seen your presentations and she has a few remarks to give to you. So I shall welcome the trainer, Lynette Mavu.
I'm glad to say that I had very beautiful initiatives outlined here. Most of you gave out, the gaps that we discussed yesterday, but again, you also went deeper and analyzed your own gaps. So we were able to hear matters, for instance, on litigation and the cost of litigation, which was very impressive because it was giving real facts from the reports that we looked at yesterday. You also, gave out issues to do with the functional conflicts that arise as a result of concurrent functions between the national government and the county government, which is the major source of conflicts in Kenya, and disputes that are registered at Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. However, what did not come out clearly was the fact that there was no mention of sector forums. And I think yesterday in our discussion, one of the issues that we delved into was the issue of sector forums. We also expected to hear the role of the PS in regards to the transfer of functions. As we know, yesterday we discussed that some of these functions have not been transferred because of some things that you have already mentioned, that some agencies are still using legislation that belong to pre-devolution.
I'd like to now invite Judge Njeri.
Thank you, Judge Zippy. Good evening, ladies. So I'll start by just addressing Dr. Frida Karani. I looked at your presentation. You are clearly a very articulate leader. You make your presentations well. But I just felt like you didn't expound so much in terms of, you talked about the National Tribunal, actors as the national and county government, coordinating summit, but there must be other actors. You see, at the end of the day, this presentation was about how to improve intergovernmental relations. And it isn't just necessarily speaking only about one thing, but it's just to look at it as a whole and see how do we improve what is already there. Are we together on that? Okay. The next presentation I'd like to talk about is Lydia Monica. Unfortunately, I got lost in your story because at one point you talk about 48 brothers and one sister. Then I'm wondering, 48, who is the 8th, the 48th? And then at another point you change and you say, actually it is 47 brothers and one sister. And so I couldn't understand exactly how these metaphors were relating to the topic. When it comes to county governments, governance is very, very complex. And you could see that, all of you, in your presentations, wasn't it? It was complex. So you wonder whether to look at it as a whole or to focus on one issue. And that's a challenge you're going to get when you get into certain things. So Lydia, I'm sorry to say this, but today I was actually disappointed. Back to you, Judge Zippy.
Thank you very much, Judge Njeri. I'd now like to speak to Angel Mbuthia. Angel, your work had a very good layout in that every challenge had an initiative and an action. One thing I liked about your work is that it is simple. Sometimes when you want something passed, especially policy, we need to make it very simple and clear to the people whom you need to pass it, even if it's in parliament. And your work had got very good references that are in tandem with our national constitution, our articles, and our laws, all our laws. When you look at your challenge, initiative, and action, it was not just a blanket of like, this is a list of challenges, this is a list of action and initiatives. You gave every challenge an action. Yeah, your work was very clear.
Pauline, I liked your look today. You looked very nice. And so did everybody else. And you're also very articulate, and you quickly express what it is you want to express in your presentations. But what I liked particularly about your presentation was the fact that you actually identified one thing, which was service delivery. You actually talked about something that you have experienced. You made it easier for me, and I think for everybody else, to understand exactly how it plays out on the ground. And I encourage you to continue.
And now I'd like to speak to Milka. Milka, your work also had good references that we are not just looking at this county act, this county act. You go an extra mile. Yeah, and so that's beautiful about your work. And then your work had timelines, which is very good for a leader. You're not just giving people a blanket. There's a strategy. It's a 5-year strategy from 2023 to 2027. And you gave us a very clear outline, the legal strategy, institutional strengthening strategy. It's important to give data, because without data, we are not able to know how wide or how big this challenge is to our country. So it's also very important to mention that. Okay, I'd now like to invite Judge Michael to give one more comment.
Yes. So first of all, just before I go to Nuru, let me tell every single lady that's currently sitting in this room, from some of the international organizations that I've worked with, this is both in the UN and the AU, all of you currently sitting here would fit in so easily, and you actually have done a far better job than some of my peers and my colleagues that I've worked with. So take that seriously. Nur, you work for the county government, and you know how challenging it is to always have too many competing ideas. And from your experience, I would have thought that you'd have possibly given an outline of what the challenges are and said that because as a PS, because that's what your assignment was, and you only had 5 years, you would pick just one thing and make sure that that is what you wanted to fully go with and deliver. Because when you try and do too many things, then first of all, in terms of your resources, in terms of your social networks, in terms of the things that you need to bring that forward, it becomes very difficult. And again, back to everybody in this room, please, it is always very simple. And I always say this, just read the question and literally take your pen and strike out the word that you've answered it. Don't go beyond that. And you're safe and you're home. Okay, so Ashura, again, your content was generic. It needed to go a little bit in depth in terms of exactly what it is that you needed to do. And again, I'll keep saying this, the secret to all the assignments is very simple. Just answer the question. And if you're not clear about the question, always seek clarification. And then if the teacher has left or your trainer has left, when you're having lunch with your colleagues, ask around that, is this what was actually said, or did I hear it in a different way? Because even as you go out into your places of work, you're still going to be complementing each other together with your colleagues. So your strength is just not in doing your assignment, but your strength is also knowing how to communicate with your fellow colleagues. Bina, the great thing about your presentation was the figures and how much we spend. So that was news, not just to me, but to everybody. How much the legal fees are, what it costs this country, the 9 trillion of stalled projects. So as you see, when you make your presentations, we take note and we know these things. We really pay attention to these little details. So what we're trying to teach you all here are practical skills that actually work beyond the book things that you learn. And we tell you things from our own personal experiences of what we know, what we've learned, and what we also share amongst our peers. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Michael. Okay, I'd now like to invite the following to come forward. Angel Mbudia, Ashura Michael, Bina Maseno, Dr. Frida Karani. Ladies, I'd like, if I call your name, you can sit down. Bina Maseno, sit down. You are safe today. Dr. Frida Karani, you are safe for today. The two of you, you've been very hardworking in the academy. We have seen your progress from day one until this episode. However, Ashura, today your work was very general. Yeah. So when we look at like the content, we can't find something tangible because this assignment was very clear, very straightforward. For that reason, Ashura, we will let you go home. Angel Mbudia, you'll have another chance in the academy. For today on.
I would like to say thank you so much. I'm very happy that I have been here. I was given the opportunity. And the far I have come at being top 8. I feel good.
I'd like to invite the next group to come forward. Pauline Onguko, Nuru Mohammed, Lydia Munika, Milka Riga. Ladies, you have received your very beautiful comments, very constructive comments, and for now, we'll just go straight to knowing who stays and who goes home. Milka Riga, welcome back to the academy. Pauline Onguko, you are safe one more time. Ladies, let me start with Nuru. Nuru, the last episode, you didn't come out as strong as the Nuru we know. Even today, in your presentation, it is still not the Nuru we have known in the very, very, very first episode. I don't really know what has happened. Though your content was very good, and we still like the fact that you're able to balance your county issues to the national issues, but you are not the Nuru. Something is lost. Lydia, your work was very good, but not detailed. When you started with solutions and you said capacity building, I asked, on what? On human rights, on agriculture, on what? On policies. It is very important to be very specific at this level of the competition. So as much as you had points, but not clear, you did not have clear outcomes or clear action plans. Based on that, ladies, Lydia Munika, we will let you go home.
My passion is in mentorship and training. So imagine what I got, I will use it for me and for the people that have changed their lives. To the amazing young women on the ground, those who come from the village, who feel like nothing. At some point you feel you've given up. Just look at me. If I have reached here, you can go further than this.
Nuru, kuna nuru gizani. Welcome back to the academy. Jerry, it's your turn.
It is my turn.
Yes. You know, you can't carry the cloud and carry the silver lining, so.
Yes.
Yes.
So today's presentations were a very, very complex topic. There were still those who did better than others. And for today's presentation, the two presentations that we appreciated, or even the whole team appreciated, was you, Milka. Congratulations. And Angel Mbuthia. You did a good job again. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we can say that's all for today. But I'd like to tell you and to the audience, you are your own competitor. Each day, you must be better than the way you were yesterday. And so the contestants in the house, strive to be better than the way you were in the previous episode, because in the next episodes, we can only have one winner.
As today's battle comes to an end, here is a quick reminder of who has left the academy and who is still in the competition.
Yes, I'm a business lady. And also, you know, I have been in politics for long, so I'll just take on and continue.
My main takeaway from the entire program is resilience. Resilience of the body, resilience of the mind. Keep it going no matter what.
After listening to these powerful presentations every week, I can clearly see how devolution is meant to benefit all Kenyans as it brings power and funds to the people. As this group of 8 powerful Miss Presidents walks on the long and grueling path towards the grand finale, we can only cheer and urge them to put their best foot forward. I challenge you now with this quote from Rosalind Brewer, COO and Group President of Starbucks. You can and should set your own limits and clearly articulate them. This takes courage, but it is also liberating and empowering and often earns you new respect. Thoughts, opinions, compliments, suggestions? Tweet us on @media_focus. Find us on Facebook @MFA Media Focus on Africa, and check us out on Instagram @Media Focus on Africa. This show will be uploaded to YouTube. To view this episode and other episodes, including the full training session, kindly click on the link provided to access the Miss President YouTube channel. And remember to click, like, and subscribe to the only show where you never really know until you know.